Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the Morning Drive with me, Tim Elliott, here on Mira Business FM. It is films that we turn our attention to now, and big news on the business of global storytelling. 4 Arab feature films have been named on the 2026 Academy Awards Best International Feature Film shortlist, which is pretty much an historic first, really, that signals perhaps shifting industry dynamics, rising global demand for diverse narratives, and obviously new commercial channels for Middle Eastern cinema talent as well. We hope. Now, these films now compete with entries from around the world as the Oscar race heats up ahead of nominations next month, early January 2026. So what does this mean for filmmakers, for cultural industries, for the creative markets in the region? Award-winning filmmaker, cultural consultant, and SoulTrotter founder, Philip Jamal Rachid, is here, and it's great to meet you.
Great to be here. Thank you. Good morning.
Very good to have you here. I'm going to start with SoulTrotter. First of all, Philip, because I love the name. I now know what this means and where this comes from, but for anybody that's never met you, doesn't know, where does SoulTrotter come from?
It's an evolution from people calling me Globetrotter, and then I wrote a spoken word. And then a friend of mine, a b-boy, he basically said, "You ain't a Globetrotter, you're a Soul-Trotter." And that was like 25 years ago, 2000, 2000, so 26 years ago. And I kept that, I branded it, it's my company now. And our goal is to tell stories from the soul to the soul, and with authenticity and cultural representation, and
It was kind of hard to pigeonhole you, and I tried over the weekend to kind of put you down as one thing, but you've done so many things. So you have your company, you make movies, you're a SoulTrotter, Globetrotter, you consult people about cultural matters, you've won awards for filmmaking. I didn't quite know where to put you. I couldn't find a box for you, Philip. Sorry.
Somebody just recently gave me a really nice description. He said, "You're the street poet of visual storytelling."
That's nice. I like that. Were you happy with that?
Yeah, I thought it was super creative. Yeah,
that kind of works. Mm-hmm. So you were brought up in Amsterdam. Okay. Your origin is Iraqi-Kurdish.
Yes.
That's correct. Okay. So you make movies. You now and all those other things that I've tried to outline. I haven't done a very good job, and I apologize in advance. But you know where we're coming from. And SoulTrotter is your company. So just talk us through SoulTrotter to start with a bit more.
It was a natural progress from being an actor into dancing. Look, I started as a non-schooled creative person that really needed a way to express himself, because verbally I wasn't really good. So everything else, whether it was music, dance, or storytelling, worked better than me communicating verbally.
Right.
And from my acting, I was one of the first Middle Eastern main characters on Dutch TV back in 97, 98. Never did anybody have a look like me that played a significant main part. So that was super groundbreaking, but also made me very well aware of the stories that were being told and how they were told. So the more I got into these things and the more projects I did, I wanted to tell stories from my perspective, and which is an international perspective, but still with the details, the cultural relevance, the humor, the nuances that are often missed in other productions.
Yeah. Okay. How would you say your humor is different? Because I can hear a little bit of the Amsterdam influence coming out in the way you speak. But where does your humor lie, do you think?
Well, my humor is a mix of very Dutch dry humor together with I would say Asian Hong Kong Kung Fu humor and New York street rawness.
Okay, there's a few things to unpack there, I think, really. It's very different. The whole Dutch thing is a very different thing. Dutch are very direct, aren't they? They tell you exactly
we are. Yeah.
how things are.
I like that.
Yeah, I kind of like that as well. But sometimes it's a little bit hard though, because it's a bit like, you did this, and this is why you were rubbish.
It
and you
can be
think,
very
"Ooh,
confronting,
okay."
yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
especially when I just came to the UE, it was a little bit of a culture shock for people that had to deal with me, or I had to deal with people that couldn't tell me what was going on, or where the challenges were.
We sugarcoat things here a bit more, don't
Yeah, yeah, and saying no is not really a thing here, and everything is, yeah, no, we will do it. Yeah, but we need it by that and that time. Can you commit to it? Yeah, we will see. Okay, yeah, that's not something I was used to.
Did you found that hard to start with?
Yeah, I still find it hard. I'm still very much. I want clarity. I want transparent approaches, especially in business relationships. I'm not here to waste anybody's time, and at the same time, also from a cultural perspective, I've grown and I've had influences from this region, and that's why I'm here. Because building up a relationship is something that is valuable. And we let's say in Holland, right, we're very direct. We're not about building relationships. We're more about what can you do for me? What can I do for you? Okay, let's move on, right? And
It's transactional.
Yeah, it's very transactional,
yeah,
right?
so
That's what made Holland big at the end as well. And here it's way more like relationship based. Can we relate? What kind of a person are you? Can we think long term? I invite you to dinner. We have tea, and there's a bit more ceremony to it, just like the Japanese culture almost. Right?
Yeah, for sure. What brought you here? What brought you from Amsterdam? Because you had your career there, you were acting. What brought you to this region?
Yeah, it was a tough decision because I was actually on pretty much on a breakthrough moment of my career as a filmmaker. I was one of the few directors chosen for private masterclass sessions with Spike Lee at the Binger Film Institute. I was hunted by the Film Fund as a new talent to come in and talk about my ideas, and then at the same time, after 15 years being in the field and not getting the funding for my own projects, even though I've done content for all the big TV channels, Children TV, Veronica, MTV, all independently, for example. But getting into the film world was a little bit more of a challenge, and I was tired of knocking on the doors, and at the same time, my dance career, let's say, took really off, and I was traveling internationally, and all of a sudden, people from the UE came to check an event out in Holland, one of the biggest events in the world, actually, and I was one of the judges. And they invited me to come here to consult them about, how to set up things, give workshops, talk about improving the scene, and then I noticed that scene here is let's say 15 years behind. And I didn't give everything up to become a dancer in the mall with a funny suit, So I made a decision. Okay, I gotta tell stories, and if I want to do that, I gotta focus on that. You gotta quit the dancing for now. You can still dance, for your own satisfaction, but focus on your film and your screenwriting. So that's what I did.
So what kind of dance was it, by the way?
Breaking.
Breaking.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the reason I got invited a few times here, right? Don't get me wrong. And once I got booked my ticket myself and came here, because my whole goal as a storyteller was, how can I tell stories from this region to the rest of the world and change the narrative, change the stereotyping that we talked about earlier, right? And I figured I need to be based here to do that, because this is the center. The center of the East and the West, and it's where the worlds come together. And it is a representation of who I am. I'm that mix.
I mean, I think, to be fair, since you've been here, when did you came here? What, 2012-ish? 12.
Yeah,
okay.
11 first time.
So there's been some growth. I mean, the film industry before that here was pretty small, a nascent industry, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
There's been some growth since then, and it seems like more and more people are talking to the world in terms of their storytelling from here than ever before.
Yeah.
But it's still, I always feel like it's still a very young industry. There isn't the funding around that is available in other jurisdictions.
Yeah. No, very well said. I mean, but even though when I came here, there was a Abu Dhabi Film Festival, there was a Dubai Film Festival,
Yeah,
there was a Gulf Film Festival. All of those are gone right now, right? And those were huge, important platforms for us as makers in the region to showcase, to network, to get funding. Now the focus has shifted a little bit more to Saudi, but there's still funds in Doha and Egypt, and just from a GCC perspective, I think there's much more, infrastructure needed to move ahead. It's funny enough that it seemed, even though the world is now way more focused on what we're doing here, it seems that we are losing opportunities to create and get out there, in all honesty.
Well, that was kind of going to be my next question. I think there's still a real opportunity to, as you know, it's that phrase, isn't it? Everybody uses now, change the narrative. But actually, there's a real need to do that because you've said yourself there is a stereotype looking in at this region of the Arab nationality as being this way.
Yeah.
The simple fact is, there are lots of nuances, and there's, UAE national, completely different from a Qatari national, from a Saudi national. There are so many stories to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting part is that everybody outside this region still combs it over one
Exactly what they do.
one thing, right? Like, and it's like, oh, but it's the people with the white thingy on their head. They're all the same.
Yeah, quite right.
No, it's quite different, and that's why, in all honesty, filmmaking is so important because even though we live in a digital world where we have all these short form contents and we have these streaming platforms, but the beauty of filmmaking and cinema and festivals is that you bring people together to watch them, and you experience that moment together. You hear the reactions, you feel the goosebumps, and there's a moment to discuss it afterwards. Right. So
this is the thing. It's still an event, isn't it? A night at the cinema is still an event, and it's an opportunity. Because if you watch films I always think it's maybe the right way. Maybe it's just my way. But if you watch a movie and you really enjoy a movie, it's not just it's not passive. It's active. You're immersed in it.
It's supposed to be an immersive experience. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be like that.
Yeah. Not just entertainment or a business model.
Yeah, quite right. Well, I mean, there's many aspects to that as well that we could talk about. We probably should be for this interview on this particular station. But I think it's important to set it because, ostensibly, we wanted to talk to you this morning about, Arab cinema. 4 films shortlisted for the Oscars is a big deal.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that because, that's kind of that's the level that you kind of aspire to if you're a filmmaker. That's the reward that many people deserve if they do well. Let me ask you this, Philip. What does it mean commercially, but maybe more important, culturally, for Arab cinema? You're here to have those 4 films shortlisted as international features.
I mean, let me start with my personal experience. So we made a project called It Ain't Where You From, The Main Circle, which was commissioned by the Art Center NYU, Abu Dhabi. I was mentored by an Oscar-nominated filmmaker from New York, whose films premiered at Sundance. Our soundtrack was made by a Grammy-nominated composer from Sudan, and we told the stories from urban artists from this region. Now, me just doing that project made a lot of difference of how I was being taken seriously as a filmmaker all of a sudden, right? Okay. And also that film got selected for an Oscar qualifying film festival and was in competition in the Palace. So all of a sudden, just from a personal experience, that journey made me realize that all the serious filmmakers now take me seriously, because before that, okay, there's a lot of people making films, but what separates people, right? And so for the movies that are nominated now for an Oscar, that means the whole global stage is following them right now.
Oh, exactly.
And that means a lot for their career. But don't get it twisted. Not all the doors open right away. Because people will think like, he already has it made. There will be a lot of crabs trying to pull you down. but it gives notice to the filmmakers. It gives notice to the region, and hopefully makes the region realize that there's opportunities for getting out there as long as we make something good.
Well, at the very least, it does that, doesn't it? Just the idea of being nominated for an Oscar kind of puts you on the map. The recognition is the key to that. But what does that mean in real terms, though? Because my guess is, and I don't know, I haven't spoken to any of the filmmakers. We'll run through some of those, some of the movies that are nominated in a minute. But it wouldn't have been as easy to greenlight those pictures, I would think, as it would be in other places, maybe. Yeah. So, how do you think, going forward, what does it mean for investment,
exactly,
for production deals, for distribution partnerships?
Yeah, good question, because this is often the business side, right?
The business side is the key to it.
Because a good film is often a good collaboration between a creative and a business person, I would say.
Yes.
And that balance within is what it's going to make that film unique. Stories that are edgy, and I consider my films under that category.
Mm-hmm. When you say edgy, what do you mean?
Edgy means that you're trying to tell stories that haven't been told yet in a way that haven't been,
not necessarily
discovered.
Controversial, just slightly out there.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So edgy for me is make people question, hold a mirror up, or discuss topics that are not your average topics in a way that is creative. So not just for controversy. Right? There's a big difference there.
Okay.
Often don't find the funding, right?
Yeah.
The first funding comes from abroad. That's my experience, and then people jump on board once they realize, like, oh, this actually has potential. We have a few good names attached, and then it becomes interesting for local investors to go, like, but wait, I want to be part of that. But local investors are not the ones that are going to be the first to jump on.
No.
And the funny thing is, because again, I'm a very exceptional kind of character because I'm Iraqi-Kurdish, Bulgarian. I grew up in Amsterdam. Me not being the refugee stereotype doesn't always have the priority for the Western funds. This is also how it is.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So it's an interesting balance of and journey of how do you fund your films and where do you go and on which door do you knock. And it's a journey that you really have to take the time and effort for. Get a good producer on board. A producer that believes in your project, but also knows the ways and has the network to knock on those doors and say, hey, this is a film that needs to be made. Why? Because they can often sell it better than the maker, at least in my case. I know how to make a story. I'm not always the best one in selling the story, right? I'm good in selling the script, but as a whole project, that's where a producer comes in, or an executive producer.
Right.
Because they know, like, what works and what doesn't,
Okay. How are we for producers and executive producers in this region?
Ooh, good question. Look, I love to put it like this. There's a lot of people who produce.
Yep.
But it's not hard to produce when you have a lot of budget.
It would be easier, sure. Opens a few doors.
Yeah. A good producer knows how to turn let's say $1 into $5.
Okay.
That's what makes a good producer, right?
And that's what the investors ultimately want.
Of course, right? So we also there's this range of producers who just see things as a business again, right? Oh, okay. Does this work? Okay, we have done this format before, this and this and that. We get so much return. Make another horror film, and then we get some money back. But yeah,
make another horror film.
I think there's a little bit more creativity that can be explored.
Yeah, but it's hard to pitch a movie, isn't it? Because they're not surefire things.
But nothing is. Nothing is, and we live in a model nowadays that is more. It's even though we don't have DVDs and distribution, but there's models, right? And we should also realize that, like, we have to be creative in our financial approach. Don't write helicopter shots and yachts and in your script if you don't have the money, or you're not going to have the money. So that's a big thing. As an independent filmmaker, you have to be very well aware of how you approach your storytelling.
It'd be nice to see from this region something other than, the glitz, the glamour, the yachts,
Absolutely.
A little bit more grit, I suppose.
And that's what we're doing with SoulTrotter. That's exactly what we're doing.
That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You're here. Really, I think it's a huge deal that we've got 4 films from the region being nominated, international features. I just want to mention the films if we can.
Yep.
First one, Palestine 36, from Palestine, historical epic set during the 1930s Arab revolt. All That's Left of You, Jordan, an intergenerational Jordanian-Palestinian family drama. The Voice of Hind Rajab is from Tunisia. It's a Gaza set drama about a medical emergency under fire, all too prescient, unfortunately, with the events of the last couple of years. And then I know you know a little bit more about this than I do, but it's The President's Cake, which is an Iraqi movie set in the 90s.
Yeah. About a young girl who's being selected.
About a young child, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I haven't watched the films yet, but I've heard the premise, and it's about a young girl who's being selected to basically make a cake for Saddam Hussein, and has to bring it. And
oh, really?
Yeah, there's
all I've got here is
a
daunting task, and that making a cake for him would be a daunting task for sure. But the thing with all of these films, they've been directed by notable filmmakers. As a cast there, Hayam Abbas, Salih Bakri, and then Jeremy Irons jumps out for me because British actor, British person, Liam Cunningham. But the recognition is the point here. It's quite a powerful affirmation, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it also stands out that a few of the films are about Palestine.
Yes.
And that's also a sign of the times, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
So it's so important again, and that's the importance of film, that we tell those stories, because otherwise, how would the rest of the world know what's happening on the ground level?
Well, exactly, and it's one way of getting the message through, because the message you see on international media perhaps isn't the message that we would otherwise like to put across.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a little bit about the creative sort of landscape, if you don't mind, Philip, because you, I guess, would be quite happy if I said you're a storyteller. As a profession, storytelling seems to be the main sort of crux of the things that you do. So that makes you qualified to talk about it. But what storytelling trends are, or maybe even themes, are emerging that resonate with global audiences? And I suppose in particular, because we're talking about these 4 films that have been nominated, what resonated with the Academy voters, do you think? What may have resonated, to be more precise?
So let me take a step back in our conversation, because I think when we were talking about investments and stuff like that, as you see, there's a famous actor involved in one of the films, Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons.
Yeah. And that is also so important for us to realize that we have to do those collaborations internationally, because that is also a way for us to get out there, right?
Well, Jeremy Irons has quite a long association with this part of the world.
Yeah, definitely.
That goes back a number of years.
Yeah. Right, and that's where your network comes in, and finding the right people for the right project. And from a storytelling perspective, it's often what gets selected for those kind of things, and the same for Cannes or Locarno, are very dramatic war stories, if I can say it like that.
Sure.
Right? Which are important to tell, and at the same time, I also wish we can show the world other kind of stories as well.
So they kind of open the doors.
Really. Yeah.
Those kind of real visceral war stories.
Yeah, again, the history of the stories that travel here are really war stories, right? And refugee stories. And that's what, let me just put it like that, that's what the West likes to see. But how come we can't show anything else? How come we can't show a psychological thriller, or how come we can't show, like, other genres to explore and touch on important themes through that? And certain horrors are trying to do that right now. But again, I think there's more than just horrors. So that's kind of how I feel about what I see around me.
I mean, I know I can see that, and I can see that's kind of the lens that people apply to this region, perhaps.
And it's that victim role, if I can be, you know what I mean? They love, like, it's a victim role that the world loves to see from us. And really, honestly, me as a storyteller, I try to stay away from that. I want to create characters that overcome and become heroes. Why don't we have a Rocky? Stories like that. That's what I like to make.
That's a really good point. Why don't we have a Rocky?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, the States was super. I mean, Sylvester Stallone was super brilliant in creating that, right? But also the way that was made, and the Top Gun from the '80s, man, beautiful. That when you got out of the cinema, you believed you could, take on the world, and you could, build your dreams, and that's the feeling that I want to give when I make films. So,
Tony Scott did a particularly good job with the speed.
Oh,
those scenes, you'd never seen that kind of thing before. I think people forget as well with Rocky. It was up for three Oscars, wasn't it?
He won the Oscar.
Well,
he won Best Picture.
Absolutely. But it was
a game. So I have this discussion with a lot of the, let's say, intellectual filmmakers who consider Rocky just an action film. I said, maybe the franchises afterwards, but you don't realize how much impact that movie had. It was an Italian actor who wrote the script, right? Back then, there was no Italian representation. You had The Godfather in the same running for the Best Picture nominee.
Well, wasn't that long after The Godfather? It was 76, wasn't it, Rocky? You wrote it
No,
74,
it was in
75.
competition at the same year. And Rocky won Best Picture, funny enough. The Steadicam was invented. That later was used in The Shining. The edit montage of the training sequences was never done before like that. So they changed storytelling forever through cultural representation, through technical improvements, through just emotive storytelling from an underdog, that is not your typical stereotype. It changed the game in so many ways, and that's why I love to give it as an example.
It's a great example. It is. Let's go back to the stories from this region, the 4 movies that have been, nominated. I'm kind of loosely using the phrase Arab cinema. I mean, it's just cinema in the end, but it comes from here, so we'll use that as a banner. But to what extent do you think the subject matter of these particular films, knowing what you know of the stories, knowing you haven't watched them, but you understand the stories, history, identity, conflict, family, how does that play into the international appeal, do you think? Because I think for a lot of audiences, it'll be a bit new for people.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And again, it's good to show a look inside, the life of, and in this case, it's Iraqi, it's Jordan Palestinian, right? Like, so again, that's where the nuances come in, right? If I, for example, I grew up in Holland, and I never traveled to this part of the world until I was older, and I always wanted to see through films or something.
Well, that's interesting.
The diaspora wants to feel connected, also. You know, so.
But how growing up, how did you identify? Did you feel Dutch? How strong was your kind of Iraqi-Kurdish background? Your Bulgarian background as well. How did you feel growing up as a kid in Holland?
Oh, you feel that you
if
don't.
I can ask that, I don't mean to be rude. I'm interested.
No, but you feel like you don't belong anywhere, right? Okay. And at the same time, you belong everywhere because you are a person that has seen things from different perspectives, like nobody else has. Yeah. I've seen the world through many different lenses, and that is what has shaped me. And if you ask, there's a reason why I call myself a Kurdish storyteller.
Okay.
because those
Is that what you would say ahead of anything? I mean, I just
yeah.
labelled you as a storyteller.
Yeah, but if you have to, like my last film and also in my documentary, the Kurdish identity is super important for me because it's an heritage that I own, and we're also a nation that is over 40 million people without official land, actually, right? So,
okay.
and we're never talked about, funny enough.
No,
in the media, and especially in this region. In Europe, they know more about us than here, funny enough.
Okay. Let me ask you about film. You've mentioned film festivals a little bit.
Yeah.
The importance of that as a platform, and so how does the festival circuit, if you like, and the recognition from being nominated or maybe even winning awards, translate into commercial success for films from any region, but in particular from this region?
So being nominated or being selected, first of all, is already a huge thing because there's so many different festivals nowadays. You have your A-list festivals, right?
Sure.
Which are the Oscars, the Sundance, the Cannes, the Venice, Berlinale. Those are like and a few more, but those are considered your A-list film festivals. Now,
Right.
Once you get in there, that's a serious deal. Dubai Film Festival was also an A-list film festival. So that was a huge deal.
Yeah,
you know?
it was a huge deal.
And then you have your tier that's below it. When you make films, you have to be very realistic to about your strategy, let's say, right?
Okay.
Where's this film going to go? And what kind of film are we making? And when I talk to producers, and the producer says, "Oh, we're going to make an Oscar-winning film," I'm like, "Yeah, then that's not how I approach a film. Like, let's tell a good story, and once that story is on paper and gets shaped, then we kind of realize, like, okay."
That doesn't seem like a logical place to start.
Yeah, no, but there's a lot of people out there like that, right?
Really?
Just because they want to get into the festivals, and it's like, but that should not be the structure. That should not be the goal. No. But what does a festival do? Because that was your question.
Back to that.
It gives you legitimacy,
right?
It gives you a great way to connect with other filmmakers, with distributors, with different producers, co-producers. It gives you a chance to get reactions from an audience, to interact, because that is so important for you as a filmmaker. Does my work resonate? Does it? Does it? Because that's what you're doing it for. And at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to pitch your next projects. Always when you go to a film festival, you have a project. Even if you maybe just starting out, make a plan. Know who's going to be there. Contact people before you go to the festival, 2 months before, because everybody is fully booked with appointments. Yeah. Strategize your journey, right? Like, I want to talk to that person, and that person. I'm going to reach out because I'm working on this kind of project. And so that is the beauty of film festivals. It's a place of networking. And of course, once you get nominated and you get, or you get awarded, that puts you in the shine. Then people are really going to take notice of you and going to say, like, "Hey, well, you know what? Here's my business card. Come talk to me." That's the difference. Now you don't have to make the appointments 2 months up front.
What about streaming platforms, Philip? Because, that's now firmly in the mix. For a lot of people, that's how their movies get made, I guess. Yeah. They get kind of churned out. But what role could the streaming, or do the streaming platforms play in this region?
Yeah. A huge role. I mean, Shad, for example, is one of the top platforms, right? It's the most watched one in the region, I believe, even. But what I do think is, and what I miss is, and I'm just talking from the perspective of where we are right now, the UE, is representation of cultures. Okay. So what I would love to see is when we speak about content from the UE. I would love to see diversity. I would love to see stories where just the way we're sitting here with different kind of people, different kind of characters going through certain things. And that's what I really, really miss. So that's just my note of feedback to the platforms.
And so that's probably an opportunity then.
It's a huge opportunity. People don't realize, and I've been having these conversations with certain people, but that you're missing out on the whole audience. Just because you think Egypt or Saudi is your distribution platform of area, sorry, but your local, don't underestimate your local audiences. Your local audience is also 8 million people. If you can reach at least maybe 10% of that, then you got a good amount of viewers.
That's a pretty big audience.
Yeah.
No, it has to be said. I mean, what do you need to do to get that? What kind of infrastructure building do we need to do? What kind of ecosystem support do filmmakers here need to be offered to build on, momentum that you see from these films that have been nominated, for example, but to do it from here?
Yeah. I mean, the obvious one is in investment or funding in development of talent, which is happening sometimes through film labs, right? And but then continuation of that development, because okay, now you did a lab for 8 days or 5 days, and then what? What you got to show for after that, right? Where's it going to take off? Who's going to invest in the project? So it's not about just development. That development has to result in something concrete, and then that concrete project, where a short film, has to be also distributed. How come there's so many labs out here, but there's no films coming out? And if there's films being made from that lab, how come they're not on the platforms? There needs to be a pipeline that puts that all together. It's as simple as that at the end of the day. Because if my film now plays at Shahid or whatever other platforms, Stars Play, Netflix, I have the credibility to say, listen, we created something. We had a distribution here and there and there. Do you believe in me to, for the next project? Or can we have a talk? It opens up doors again. But if you just get stuck in that, here's a lab for 5 days, here's another lab for 2 weeks, and here's, or you have funding that supports your film while you're in production. How does that work? No, we need funding for production. That's the hard part. So I believe there's a lack of understanding what needs to be done in order to move people forward as artists, as filmmakers.
You must be positive because you moved here to do this, didn't you? To tell stories from this region. So you must see, maybe not the pipeline and the investment that you would like to see, but you must have seen a direction to up sticks from home, if you like, wherever you would call home, to here.
Yeah, absolutely. If I didn't believe in this place or in what I can contribute to it, I wouldn't be here. So, and what I think is the beauty is, again, the diversity, but also me being in touch with the culture from here. And at the same time, I see this as an HQ of telling the stories to the rest of the world with an open mindset, right? This is also very important. But because we live in a time and place where the world comes here. We don't have to go to the world anymore, right? True. But that also means that, when let's say from a film industry, when the bigger productions come, all these Hollywood, Bollywood productions, which is super, and it's super promotion for the country, us as local filmmakers doesn't really support, like at least for me, it doesn't really support it because I don't have interest to be the assistant of the assistant of the assistant.
Okay. I was going to ask you, what does it mean? I mean, I don't know, the F1 movie, Brad Pitt was here filming in Abu Dhabi, for example. What does that mean to a filmmaker in this region when you've got these kind of global, not very much?
It doesn't. For the technical team, it's perfect. For interns who want to get to know about the industry, it's great. But for the storytellers and the filmmakers, it doesn't do anything. At all.
It kind of diverts attention, I suppose, in some way.
No, because it's still great for a country to have these projects, right? So it gives experience to the film industry in different ways. But for a storyteller and a director, it doesn't have any influence. It doesn't have any impact. It doesn't change where I'm going. I like what we would like to see is um, like instead of spending a lot of money on certain projects, how about we diversify the money and the same amount of money and spread that to multiple smaller projects and uplift the filmmakers that are actually based here and have been contributing to the ecosystem and creating jobs and developing talent for free to represent the people here, you know.
Yeah. Do you think there's an element of, I don't know, talent export? If movies like this, you know, the really big movies come in, and it shines a spotlight on here, but it's also potentially a drain in some ways because the opportunity is to leave and go elsewhere. I guess if you're a writer, you're a producer, director, and you're not working as the assistant of the assistant of the assistant. But you know, it's a leg up the ladder in a different direction. Do you know what I mean? Do you think it takes people away from the industry here that you're?
No, I don't think
create?
it. No, I don't think it takes people away. I don't. You know, again, it's a great opportunity for certain people. Like I said, if you're on a technical team and you're a sound guy or you're a gaffer or whatever or a best boy or, you know, it's great to work on these projects.
Can I ask you something quickly?
Yeah.
This is kind of nothing to do with this, but what is a gaffer?
A gaffer is the head of light. He's the
Right.
head of light department, right?
Okay. And who's the guy that holds the boom?
That's the mic, the microphone. How do you say the sound recorder?
That's just sound recorder. Okay.
Yeah.
So a gaffer is the light guy. Right. Okay. No, it's just I've always wondered.
Yeah. So for them, it's great, right? Just and again, and it's super to have that on your resume. And funny enough, certain people also flaunt with it a lot of being the assistant of the assistant of the assistant, and then put on the resume as if it looks that they were head of a department or something. But
That's not a
bless
bad thing.
them. But yeah, I'm not that type of person. I like to tell my own stories, right? So
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's get back to telling stories from this region and these movies that have been shortlisted and are Oscar nominated. 4 movies, as we've been saying. What business models or strategic partnerships do you think could help more, loosely Arab films, but films from this region? There's a lot more to this region than just, you know, films in Arabic or Arab films, if you like. What could help more films from this region convert award chatter into real sustainable revenue streams? You know, a real business model.
yeah. So, I mean, there's different layers to it. A good start also is what Abu Dhabi has been doing, the rebate, right? There's a 35% and up rebate for productions that are outside of Abu Dhabi and want to do their filming there or even post-production. And that's super attractive for producers because, you know, like, okay, you have to include talent from there, which is normal. But man, that's a huge difference. Let's say you have $100,000, right? And you get 35% back of that. Wow.
It's not bad.
That's not bad, you know? Then you have, of course, the funding. Funding is something that needs to be there in place, I think, which is not here yet structurally. And funding is good because it's something that doesn't require return of revenue, right? That's the beauty of it. Then you have the structure of partly investment, and of course the investors want to see their money back. But again, if we take that 100,000 as an example, you have 35% rebate. Let's say you got 40% investment. You already have covered 75% of your budget, which means you might want to get investment for 15%, right? And of that 15% from 100,000 is a lot less than 75% of investment. So all of a sudden, your risk becomes way less as an investor, which makes it interesting because you have that support. So rebate, funding, partly investment, but then also branding. We need to include brands in our films. And I don't mean selling out and just have people holding up a brand and smiling. No, but
You're not talking about product placement here. It's a bit more than that.
It's a bit more than that. The organic way of implementing branding into your storytelling. Okay. And for example, for MTV 20 years ago, we launched a whole series called Funky Fighter, and I had total creative freedom, but people loved what we were doing, and it was a mix of kung fu, breaking and hip hop and with over the top dry humor, and they were like, "Yeah, but can you make something for us like that?" And then it was totally funded by a telephone company, and the only thing they were like, "Okay, but you have to add a phone in every episode," and I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course." And organically we wrote that. So you involve them from the beginning, right? How do we organically, implement those things in the story?
So it's much more seamless. It's just part of a narrative, part of the story.
Yeah.
If you do it cleverly.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can do it also like Wayne's World. I don't know if you remember the movie Wayne's
I remember it well.
where they had this obvious branding moment. Which was super hilarious, right? But like if it works, it works. Like
it's just the idea of that public access TV thing that, to me at the time, was just, what on earth is this? But if you're from the US, it was just part of the landscape, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Look, just one final question. I've kept you so long over time. I'm going to get shouted at, Ken, but hey, who cares? Let's look ahead. The story today really is that the reason we wanted to talk to you was these. 4 films that have been, it's a significant milestone for Arab cinema, but 4 films nominated. So we'll find out next year what happens. Those films are, just a reminder, Palestine 36 from Palestine, All That's Left of You from Jordan, The Voice of Hind Rajab is from Tunisia, and The President's Cake is from Iraq. So you're going to be hearing more about those. But I'm just interested in an overall view from you on this, your perspective, sort of outside looking in, inside looking out as well. You're in that kind of unique position. What markets or platforms do you think are most receptive to Arab cinematic content? Where do you think it really works with people, movies from here? Or am I just, it's going to work everywhere? Am I branding it in the wrong way?
Well, it's an interesting question because, funny enough, and again, I can only share my experience through my work, right, and what I've seen kind of around. But it's funny enough, it resonates a lot in Europe. It resonates a lot in the States because. Because of, again, the diaspora, but also the people being interested in what's happening here. Okay. So your distribution is not just regionally. Your distribution is literally worldwide, even in far Asia. The Busan Film Festival is super supportive. We're in a very unique geographical place. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Our stories can resonate everywhere, and we're in the news every day, right? So people want to know, people want to hear, people want to see, and sometimes it may not be the things that they would make, but that's also the beauty of it. If you look at the blaxploitation films in the 60s and 70s, were not necessarily the best films. Right? No, technically or acting wise.
Some of the music was great.
But the music, the style of clothing, there was a lot of soul to it, right? Mm-hmm. And that is what made it super unique, and that's why all the people went to watch it from their communities first, and then later on became this whole cult thing. But I believe that is the beauty of what we're doing. But also in our region, storytelling has a long history.
For sure.
The first written tablet that we know, the tablet of Gilgamesh, where does it come from? Mesopotamia, right?
Yeah.
So
which is Iraq now, really.
Yeah,
isn't
Iraq,
it?
right? Like, so our legacy is huge. We know how to tell stories. Let us tell the stories. Yeah.
So play to your strengths, really, is what you're saying.
Sorry?
Play to your strengths.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We don't have to copy other parts of the world. We don't have to emulate what they're doing. Tap into your own culture. Tap into your own situations, your own history, your own people, and tell those stories, and it will resonate with the rest of the world.
Normally, these interviews on Mira Business FM are business interviews. We did talk some business today. So there was a little bit there, but we kind of went off topic. But all the better for it, I think, really. Philip Jamal Rachid is a filmmaker. He's the founder of SoulTrotter, and he is a storyteller.
Yes, sir.
I like it.
Yes, sir. And just to share a little bit more of the business side, real quick. Listen, if you have an independent film, right, and you don't have distribution yet, right, what are you going to do? Think about these steps. there's places like a Cinema Kiel, for example, where you can make a deal, right? And you can show your film independently, invite people, and invite the right people and start building a name like that. And that's what I've been doing. Unfortunately enough, not with Cinema Kiel yet, but in different ways, right? But I'm just giving you an example from a how do you say it, from a hustler's point of view, right? Like as a film pusher, let's say, where you have to push your own story. That's what you need to do. You need to connect with these people and then create your audience.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of hustling, as long as it's positive. It's a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we're going to see some stuff at Cinema Kiel from you in the not too distant future.
Inshallah.
I'm hopeful. All right. Philip Jamal Rachid is a filmmaker. He's the founder of SoulTrotter, and it's been good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Appreciate you coming in. This is The Morning Drive. This is Mira Business FM. A like, a subscribe, always appreciated. Wherever you join us from, get in touch. Tell us what you think. Everything we say and do basically is available to listen and or watch again. So find us wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search Mira Business FM.